Please welcome to the stage Madhav Thattai, Senior Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Agentforce product at Salesforce, and Sagar Mehta, Chief Technology Officer at OpenTable.
All right. Well, it's great to be here with all of you, so thank you so much. Sagar, thank you for being a great customer of Salesforce. A lot of customers, a lot of companies have this question about where do they get started on their agentic journey? What use case, what's the thing that I should go after? You guys have done a lot across your customer experiences, your employees. So how did you get started? How did you think about where you should focus?
Yeah, so when we started, really, we were looking for efficiencies for our three audiences: restaurants, diners, and our internal employees. AI agents allowed for natural language conversations in a much more fluid and authentic way. So we started by saying, well, where do we have those conversations across those three audiences? Customer service was a natural first step. Thank you, Salesforce. We partnered with you to launch AI agents in our chat experiences. For us, a key metric was how many questions are we resolving without escalating to a human agent? And we were able to improve that pretty dramatically. But the potential is just so much higher as well, right? As we see how does the agent interact with our own internal tools and APIs, we know that, over time, we can just get better and better. For our restaurants, actually, a common thing that they had to deal with was people calling the restaurant to make reservations. And it's funny because OpenTable, when it was founded 26 years ago, was founded with the simple premise of make a reservation online 24/7. You don't have to talk to anyone, right? But despite that, people still pick up the phone, call the restaurant. And so what we said was, okay, how can we partner with great voice AI companies to bring a solution to market, allows a restaurant to answer the phone automatically, make a reservation, answer questions. Seen great success so far. Millions of calls answered, hundreds of thousands of reservations. A lot of times the person calling doesn't even realize they're talking to an AI.
Yeah, what I love about that is I think picking an outcome, picking a clear KPI, this is what I want to orient my experience towards, I think is a much healthier approach to this versus just kind of trying to boil the ocean with a bunch of experiences. So that's really great. Now, as you've been on this journey, would love to hear about what are some of the challenges that you've seen? What are the things that you felt like you had to put more energy around? How did you get ready for it? So we'd love to hear what that implementation journey has looked like for you.
Yeah, I mean, one of the, in addition to figuring out what's your metric, what are you targeting, I think understanding the data and is your data in a state where it can be consumed by this AI is a critical concern. So for internal efficiencies, we use a tool called Glean. It's enterprise search, knowledge management. And what it's based on is it says, hey, I'm going to take all this internal data and provide you an answer in a more intuitive way without having to read through all the documents, right? So previously it might have just shared the links. Now it's going to give you an answer. Obviously, like anything, it's only as good as the inputs, right? And so ultimately you need to really think about, okay, how do I make sure if I'm creating a customer facing experience, especially, what's the data going into it? And how do I evaluate the answers coming out? And so that can be testing, right? Okay, I have a set of questions that I know the answer to, and I'm going to compare and do some evaluations. It can also be things like monitoring for sentiment. So is the person that is interacting with this AI frustrated? Can you detect that from the conversation trace or the voice? And how do you actually then incorporate that into your learnings and your feedback loop? Because if you're not doing that, then you kind of have this, thing out there and you just don't know how to evaluate, is it doing the right thing or not?
Yeah, and I think, every step of that journey from let's pick the outcome, let's think about the configuration, let's think about what the data sources are, all the way through deployment, implementation, monitoring, testing. It's like we're in this world now where we're kind of creating an entirely new development cycle for these agents as they're starting to experiment. I'd love to hear, how are you managing across your teams, across these experiences, particularly on, are we getting the outcomes we want? How do we know how to improve things? How have you thought about that at OpenTable?
Yeah, I mean, when we started, it was definitely more top down of, hey, here's the initiatives we want to go after. At this point, we've tried to democratize it to some extent, where we said, look, we can, as an executive team or as a leadership team, figure out all the potential use cases. You, as employees, know what you're spending your time on, and we want you to set goals for your own teams and organizations on how you're going to use AI to make your processes, your workflows more efficient. And that's actually been, pretty interesting in that you can potentially take a lot of wrong turns, but in this world, experimentation is key. And honestly, it helps us bring the employees along for the journey, right? Like, okay, how are you going to use AI to make yourself more efficient is different than us saying, here's a new tool, please use it, right? And so it's been pretty empowering for the organization to hear that message of, actually part of your job as a leader or as a person on a team is to actually get better at AI and use AI in your job every day. If you're a recruiter and you're thinking about how do I more effectively source candidates or, filter through applications, if you're a marketer saying, how do I, reach the right influencer on Instagram or TikTok so I can run a campaign, all of those things, actually we start seeing bits and pieces bottom up being built out. Like, hey, I built a small agent workflow using the tools you gave us, or the development budget you gave us, and it's been actually pretty phenomenal.
And with the right controls and governance mechanisms, et cetera.
Right controls and governance mechanisms, but like different problems need different governance and controls, right? So like, what does OpenTable do? We match diners to restaurants, right? I'm not building a self-driving car. I'm not making medical recommendations.
Yep.
I think we can take a little bit more risk as an organization. And that's this thing I try to tell my team is like, if this is a little bit wrong, but we can get feedback and learn and improve it, it's better than the alternative. And so you just have to put that into context of like, what is the actual risk in what we're doing and in our products? And, can we take more risk? I say yes.
No, that's great. And I think you kind of led to my last question here, which is, when you think about the future of OpenTable as an organization, from Salesforce's vantage point, we believe customers are going to have lots of different kinds of agents facing their customers, agents facing their employees, and then a whole class of agents that are just doing kind of work in the background, kind of at scale work. How do you think about your agentic workforce? How are you all planning for that? What does that future look like for you?
Yeah, and it's interesting because we're a hospitality company, so we bring people together, right? And that human touch is really important. That said, agents are here and they're here to stay. One thing I think about is how do I take my human workforce and help it be the people who are training and building out the digital workforce, and it really involving them in the journey. I have like 7 or 8 different coding co-pilots in trial right now, and for some people like, well, that's a lot. Do you need all of those? It's like, look, I want to engage with my engineers. I want them to try and test different things and find out what works, what doesn't work, because ultimately, your most valuable employees are going to be the ones who learn how to use AI very effectively, and you want to empower them to do so.
That's great. Well, Sagar, thank you so much for spending some time with us. All right, see you. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
The 2 most powerful words in the world that we know are, what if? And today, thousands of organizations are saying, what if? With the power to act on those words like never before. What if you could empower every employee with a limitless digital workforce, one that listens, learns, and acts all day, every day? Well, this isn't some far-fetched science fiction fantasy anymore. No, it's happening right now with AI from Salesforce. It's called Agentforce. Agentforce turns your vision into reality. Think about it, a future where every student, client, citizen, and customer experiences the best service possible. And your people? Well, now they're free to focus on the work that matters most. All you have to do is bring your dream. Imagine that. What if?